Today we're going to be repotting herbs, and the first thing we need to talk about is the tools that you'll need to be able to do this successfully. So we have our pots that we're going to be potting into, and I have several different sizes here. Then you'll also need a garden trowel, and then I've also got scissors and pruners that we'll use to be able to harvest our herbs and then also to just prune them back. We also have a watering can with our pre-mixed liquid fertilizer. You can find this at the garden store or your garden center. It'll just be labeled for herb use, usually pretty low grade fertilizer. And then our potting mix. You want to make sure that you have potting mix as opposed to soil dug up from the garden or what we think of as dirt, because garden soils or natural soils are going to compact more whenever we water the plants. And because we're keeping these plants in a pot throughout their lifetime, we want something that's a little fluffier, holds more air, holds more water. So you want to choose a store-bought potting mix, something that's labeled specifically for keeping things in pots. I'm going to repot this basil plant, and the same premise that we're going to be using to repot the basil is the same concept that you can use to repot pretty much any plant and any of these herbs as well. So we've determined that it's in way too small of a pot here, and one thing to notice here is when we take the smaller container off, you can see how many roots are in here, and that this plant is starting to get what we call root bound or pot bound, which means that there's so many roots in here that they're just going crazy, and this actually will stress the plant out as well. So what we want to do is you kind of give the root ball, which is this whole clump here, kind of a gentle massage and break that apart, and it seems like you're really doing damage, but you are breaking some of the roots, but that sends signals to the plant to tell it to put out more root, because we don't want the plant to grow, stay in kind of its little happy, safe zone. We want these roots to go out and take over this pot and get lots of moisture and nutrients. So we can kind of break it up, and then we just lightly press it into our damp potting soil. So a lot of potting mixes, they can be kind of dry when you first get them, and you want to soak them for a little while, and you want them to be kind of a damp consistency, but not so wet and muddy and clumpy that they're just absolutely soaked. But you do want to pre-soak them because they can be they can take water away from the plant and the roots if they're not adequately pre-soaked. So you do want to pre-soak your potting mix a little bit. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm just packing some other soil around it and making sure that it's well covered, that we have the roots adequately covered and anchored, because as this plant gets bigger, sometimes it will cause the pot to tip over. So I'm just lightly pressing. You don't want to pack it down too tightly, but you do want to lightly press it in, because as you water the plant in and add water to it, the soil will settle. So you want to make sure that you have an adequate amount of soil to start with. So now that we have our basil repotted, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more of the aggressive kind of pruning and take off some of these larger stretched out stems. So now that we have our plant pruned up and in here, these leaders will probably go ahead and take off and send up new shoots, and then these smaller growths down here will also send up new growth as well.